The Orphan and the Fated Encounter. Luca, a young boy who grew up in a run-down orphanage on the outskirts of the city, had never known his birth parents. He only knew to call the elderly nun's mother, and the cracked dirt playground was his entire childhood. He didn't dream big. He just knew that one day, when he was old enough, he wanted to do something, anything, to make sure no child at the orphanage would ever have to sleep cold in the winter again. On a rainy day, when Luca was just 12, he saw an old man collapse in the middle of the street, and no one stopped without thinking. Luca dashed from the sidewalk, braving the traffic, pulled the man to safety, and shielded him from the rain with his torn jacket. That man, Charles Belmont, was a reclusive billionaire, childless and alone, quietly inspecting the charity projects he had funded. And the day Luca dragged him out of that puddle was the very day everything in the boy's life began to change. Luca's journey, from orphan to heir. Luca was adopted by Mr. Charles Belmont. When he first moved into the Grand Belmont estate, it took him nearly 2 months to adjust to this new life. There were no more cold nights on squeaky iron bunk beds, no more lining up for meals. But still, every morning, he quietly made his bed, folded his blanket, and greeted the cleaning staff as if they were family. Charles Belmont didn't just raise Luca as a son. He treated him as a future heir, but never with force. Luca was taught by the finest tutors, took social etiquette classes, and learned how to use a knife and fork properly. Yet Charles also let him run barefoot through the garden, choose his own books from the vast library, and sometimes tend the garden alongside the staff. One night, when Luca was 15, Charles said to him, "You could know every formula for success, but if you don't know how to bend down and pick up a piece of trash in your own garden, you'll never be able to lead anyone." At 18, Charles took him on a discreet trip to Africa, not under the guise of philanthropy, but simply as two men willing to listen. It was there that Luca first understood. Money is just a tool. The real value lies in presence. After returning, Luca began an internship at one of Belmont Group's subsidiaries, not in a privileged position, but as an ordinary operations employee. He learned to listen to the workers, took notes on even the smallest suggestions, and eventually proposed an internal logistics improvement that saved the company over 30% in transport costs. But during that time, Luca also began to feel the sting of unkind stares. Some of Charles's longtime executives viewed him as an amateur, unworthy of such a vast legacy. Quietly, they began creating obstacles, withholding information, distorting reports, and spreading rumors that Luca was merely a publicity tool to uphold Belmont's humanitarian brand. Charles knew, but he didn't intervene. Instead, he sent Luca to a remote mountain village in North Asia, where the company was planning to build a resource extraction site. There, Luca lived for 3 months among the locals, slept in their homes, ate their meals, and witnessed firsthand what a heartless project could do. When he returned, Luca presented a plan to restructure the entire supply chain, one that prioritized ethical sourcing and reinvestment into local communities. The plan was mocked at first, but when Charles passed away a year later, Luca became the sole legal heir, and the once dismissed proposal became the world's leading sustainable development strategy. From ages 18 to 21, Luca didn't just learn how to lead a corporation, he learned how to lead himself. He battled depression, doubted his worth, and at times considered abandoning it all to live a quiet, anonymous life. But the handwritten letters from his adoptive father, written for each milestone in Luca's journey to manhood, always arrived at just the right time. In one letter, Charles wrote, "Leadership isn't about telling people what to do. It's about living in a way that makes them want to listen." That line stayed with Luca as a guiding star for the rest of his life. When Charles passed away, Luca was only 21. His death wasn't just an emotional loss. It was a spiritual earthquake for Luca. though the legal transition had been prepared. Standing alone at the quiet funeral in the estate's courtyard, staring at the wooden chair where his father once read the paper each morning, Luca felt a vast, unbearable emptiness. He locked himself in his room for days, refusing even the most important meetings. The media erupted with questions. Is the new heir capable? Major shareholders began selling off their stocks. The press labeled him the lucky orphan boy. Social media mocked him as someone who had never run a convenience store, let alone a global conglomerate. The pressure was crushing. One night, Luca stood before Charles's old office, now handed down to him. He hesitated. His hand trembled as it reached for the doorknob. And just then, as if fate had been waiting, the butler handed him one final letter. My dear son, if you are reading this, then I am likely no longer with you. Remember, burdens don't make you weak. It's how you carry them that gives you strength. If the world turns its back on you, remember this: you once shielded an old stranger from the rain, and from that moment, you became the strongest person I ever knew. Luca read the letter in tears, and the next morning, for the first time since the funeral, he walked into the office. Every meeting, every presentation, every skeptical partner, Luca faced them all. He didn't shout. He didn't command. He simply showed up with calm, truth, and above all, humility. In one tense board meeting, a senior executive mocked him. Do you really believe you're capable of restructuring a model that's already successful? Luca replied, No, I don't think I'm enough. But I believe that if we keep walking the same path, we won't just fail. We'll lose something far more valuable than money: trust. That quiet conviction began to shift hearts, not because he was Charles Belmont's son, but because he was Luca, a leader who led from the heart. One clear Saturday morning, on a bright Saturday morning, Luca decided to visit Sterling Motors, one of the city's most exclusive luxury car showrooms. He wore a faded white shirt and a pair of old brown leather shoes, a gift once given by Mr. Charles. The moment he stepped inside, unpleasant stares met him from the reception desk. Valerie, an experienced sales associate, gave him a swift once-over and asked coolly, What exactly are you looking for here? This is a premium dealership. We don't display budget vehicles. Luca replied gently. I'd like to see the limited edition Phantom Hybrid. Valerie burst into mocking laughter. A few other employees looked up, raising their eyebrows. Troy, a young salesman, approached with folded arms and a smirk, planning to pay with cash or a selfie for social media likes. Bro. Still composed, Luca answered, I'm not here to film or chase attention. I'm simply looking for a vehicle strong, reliable, and elegant enough to serve a retirement home I'm currently building. Valerie sneered. We serve clients who have appointments and financial backing. If you don't have any financial proof, you might want to try the common section in the back. Nearby stood an older man in a suit. Mr. Howard, the showroom manager, who was about to intervene when Valerie leaned in and whispered, He's just a drifter. Don't waste your time. The atmosphere grew tense and suffocating. Luca turned to leave, but suddenly, the internal phone rang. Mr. Nilm. Howard answered, and his face went pale. He glanced at Luca, then rushed toward him. Mr. My Belmont? I had no idea you were visiting today. Please forgive the inadequate welcome. Valerie's jaw dropped. Troy stepped back, his promotional board slipping from his hand. Luca didn't show anger. He simply asked, Is this how you welcome someone who doesn't carry an expensive wallet or arrive with an escort car? No one responded. The air thickened. Mr. Nilm. Howard bowed slightly. You're the primary benefactor for the city's eldercare network, and the new chairman of Belmont Holdings, a strategic partner of our brand. Luca's voice remained calm. I came to purchase a vehicle for the elderly, but today I learned another lesson about how the young often look at others. Valerie was speechless. Troy trembled. No apology could erase the way they had looked at someone they believed was a nobody. Luca turned and walked out, leaving the showroom in a stunned, echoing silence. 1 week later, Valerie and Troy were dismissed from their positions. The dealership issued a formal public apology, and Luca? He used his own foundation to launch a soft skills training program, specifically for those who grew up as orphans, teaching them how to stand tall in the face of contemptuous stares. 1 month later, a month after the incident at the showroom, Luca returned to where it all began, St. Maria Orphanage. The SUV he had personally selected didn't pull into a luxury garage. Instead, it drove straight to the weathered red brick gate, where children still lined up each afternoon for bowls of warm porridge. The elderly nuns were older now, their steps slower, but their eyes still glowed with kindness. They recognized him from afar, not because of designer suits or a tall figure, but because the same boyish smile still lingered in Luca's eyes. Sister Maria, the woman who had once taught him his first letters, welled up with tears as he embraced her tightly. "You've truly come back, just like Father Charles promised." Luca walked slowly through the courtyard, once his entire world. He ran his fingers along the peeling walls, the broken swing, the rusted iron bunk beds. Memories came flooding back, halved meals, fevered nights without medicine, and dreams of a mother that always ended beneath a leaking roof. The very next day, he hired a team of architects and planners, but Luca refused to tear anything down. He preserved the original main house, the place he once cried, once slept, as a symbol of the past. Beside it, he built everything anew: modern classrooms, a light-filled library, a green playground, and a fully equipped medical center. St. Maria Orphanage was renamed House of Rainlight, in memory of that rainy day long ago when Luca shielded a stranger with his coat and, in return, was given an entire life. At the inauguration ceremony, Luca didn't give a long speech. Instead, he invited an 8-year-old girl with eyes that mirrored his own from years ago onto the stage. "What do you want to be when you grow up?" he asked. She whispered, "I want to rebuild the orphanage for other kids." Luca chuckled, voice trembling. "Then I'll save you a seat on the foundation's board." The room erupted in joy. That day, he planted a purple rainflower tree in the front yard. Next to its roots, he placed a plaque engraved with a lesson Charles once gave him: not power, not wealth, but kindness. That will be the last legacy standing. As the sun set over the new rooftops, Luca sat alone, gazing at the horizon, where soft light wrapped around the little heads playing in the distance. No more torn coats, no more looks of disdain, only a man, walking in the wind, carrying the sunlight